Welcome to the deep dive. So, how a bill is passed into law in Jamaica? First of all, a bill is proposed in the parliament. The bill go through several processes. It go through several readings, couple of readings. Then, if they agree on the bill, it goes through a final vote. Now, it also has to go to the Senate, where changes may be made. But in short, I'm paraphrasing here. In short, once the House and the Senate agrees on the tenets of the bill and what the bill is trying to accomplish, it is passed and it goes to the Governor General for his signature. Now, in that process, real quick, the bill has to be parsed. They go through every section of the bill to make sure that more than anything else, it comports with the Constitution. Now, my question is, the recent Road Traffic Act that was passed a while back, that people are now complaining about, are we serious that nobody saw in that bill that, if somebody has a cell phone that is properly affixed to the dashboard, that's not a ticketable offense? If somebody has a cell phone that is sitting in a cup holder, that should not be a ticketable offense. Now, as for the cell phone in your lap, that's a different matter. I think that's nuanced, and it's up to each country or whoever, each municipality that formulates a bill or devises a bill to become law, how they see that, the negatives and the positive, the pros and the cons. Now, also, the point system in that bill that I see people getting ticketed for and points on their license, like a broken taillight, stuff like that. Those should not be, that should not be a situation where points are added to your license. And motorists have been crying out. Now, I get that Jamaicans don't like to follow law. I get it. They want to live in a first world country, but they don't want no laws. And in every first world country, it's governed by the rule of law. But the point I'm making is, nobody saw that this was not the way it is done. And here's the part that really, really baffles me. These bill, the tenets of the bill, they're not novel ideas. These are ideas that are tried and proven all across the world, especially in the developed world or in the Western world, for example. So these are not new ideas, they're not novel ideas. All they had to do is go through some of the bills, let's say the United States, the Road Traffic Act, the Road Traffic Acts, and just copy and freaking paste, copy and paste. You don't have to copy the bill verbatim, but look at the framework of the bill and what's in the bill and what works, and make that into law. It doesn't require a great deal. But as it was in the case of the INDECOM Act, I had consistently said that the law was flawed. Looking at it from, it's not that the law was necessary, because the police made that law necessary. But as far as the INDECOM Act was concerned, it was flawed the way it was designed. And you saw, I never kept hammering. And I don't know if they heard me or they listened to me. But what I know, they were forced to revisit the law. And those of you who are interested, go to mikebeckles.com. It's there. I fought for this bill to be changed because it was impractical. You cannot, INDECOM cannot be the investigator and the prosecutor. There's nowhere where that happens. In the United States, the FBI investigate. In England, it's Interpol or whatever, or Scotland Yard. They investigate, but they don't prosecute cases. Cases has to go to a prosecutor. So I didn't see how INDECOM could become this investigative body that does its own prosecution. It was wrong, and I don't know how, it was unconstitutional. So they had to reverse that. All of those powers belong with the Director of Public Prosecution. We didn't need two different prosecuting agencies in a country of 2.8, 2.9 million people. It doesn't matter if it's 200 million. All right? Unless it's a state by state thing where people are being prosecuted in different states by different prosecutorial bodies. That's a different thing. But Jamaica is one government. We don't have several different states with different governors and stuff like that, if you understand what I'm saying to you. So yes, it was a bad idea, and a law also that was not novel could have been looked at. They could have looked at, the lawmakers could have looked at other police watchdog groups, accountability groups, and see what the framework and the tenets of those laws were, and simply adopt those and make it workable for Jamaica's situation. But they didn't do that. Look, the lawmakers in our country, they have to spend more time, really more time doing their jobs. I'm sure they have lawyers working with them, and if those lawyers are worth anything, they should be able to say this is not going to work, or this part of it is unconstitutional. We can't enact this. We got to strip that out of the bill before it becomes law. It is embarrassing now to see where the Prime Minister is now saying that certain things will have to be done, certain changes will have to be done to the Road Traffic Act. And we see now where the police department now having to be issuing directives that, you know, if somebody's driving and they have their cell phone affixed to their dashboard or anywhere like that, that's perfectly fine. If they have it in a cup holder, on a stand where they could talk without having to touch the device, that's perfectly fine. Most new vehicles nowadays, you could just press a button on your steering wheel and you could take your call and you can end your call. You can't punish people for those things. So see, when the laws are like that, and this is both sides, because both sides, PMP and JLP, had to vote on this bill to make it law. So I don't want anybody coming at me talking about it's the JLP government. You're stupid. It has to be voted on by all the members in the House. And if they were worth any, the PMP were worth anything, they would have stepped in and said, hey, well, this has to come out. This doesn't make sense. That's called an amendment to the bill before it becomes law. But they didn't. And so they're just as doofy as the government members who allowed this to go through and become law. Just as goofy, just as silly, just as stupid. When you have to allow public outcry to define a bill and to define how it doesn't look good on the government, okay? And I'm speaking right now off the cuff. It does not look good off the government. I'm not using a script. It doesn't look good on the government that they're gonna have to retrace their steps. What that does, every law now going forward that is proposed and passed, people are gonna be up in arms about it. What are you gonna do? You're gonna back up? You're gonna now back up? The government gonna now back up from the law because people are crying out? It creates a sense of a lack of trust in the lawmakers in our parliament, and deservedly so, because the parliament is filled with people who spend more time on their personal business, more time trying to get attention, you know, priming and priming and trying to get attention, being on social media, than doing the work of the people who put them there. This gotta stop. This is really ridiculous, man. You guys gotta do a better job of this. It's not like anybody's asking you to make laws that there's no iteration of it in another country. No. You can just look at the laws that work in other developed countries and adopt them and make them work under the Jamaican Constitution. Make it yours. Make it yours. I'm not saying now that you should copy and paste it and it becomes unconstitutional because it's outside of the framework of our Constitution. That's not what I'm saying. But there are people within the Jamaican Parliament who consider themselves excellent lawyers. You're telling me you didn't see that this doesn't make sense? You didn't see that all of these things that you're allowed to go through rather than add an amendment to the bill, that these things be stripped out. You didn't see that you can't keep putting points, all these points on people's license for the most basic non-moving violations. The point system was designed for moving violations. Reckless driving, speeding, not wearing seatbelt, dangerous driving, that sort of thing. It was not designed for a poor man driving his little car and one of his backlight is broken. It was never designed for a poor man driving one of his lugs off of his tire. Now, I am not in any way minimizing that a lug off a tire is not consequential. It is. But this is why police officers have latitude. Police officer is the first judge. This is why the police can issue a warning. Issue a warning. Tell the person, Mr. Brown or Mr. Smith or whatever his name is, sir, I'm going to give you a warning to have this log fixed. You could even ask him to bring it to the police station and show you that he has replaced the log. And I'm sure that man is going to replace that log. You know, there are still good, decent people in Jamaica who wants to live in a country of laws. So you don't have to ticket on the first offense. And the people who are crying the loudest though, remember this, the taxi operators who don't want to obey the law, they had no problem. Those people had no problem when they were being taxed by one order and Klansman and one order in Spanish Town. And they had to pay that fee or they couldn't load. Okay? So nobody used to pay these people any mind. All over Jamaica is the same thing. Whenever the gangsters tax them, they got nothing to say. They fall in line, they obey, and they pay. But when the government, the legally constituted government, attempt to bring order to the society, everyone is up in arms and everybody have a problem with it. And this has to stop too. The government has to put its foot down hard. So whenever gangsters do anything in Jamaica, it's okay. And everybody support it or they shut their goddamn mouths. But the minute the government institutes something that's supposed to end the chaos, it's a big, big problem. And this is why it's important for the government, the legally and lawfully constituted government, to get its act together before it passes a bill into law. So that when it execute that law, when it steps out, when its officers steps out to execute that law, it doesn't matter what they complain about. The law is the law and you don't have to back up. That's not the way to do it. You don't back up once you have made the law. So you ensure that the law is constitutional, you make sure that the law is not draconian, and you make sure that the law passes muster. That is how you gain confidence as a government. Now, this is not an attack on the sitting government. I'm simply saying, please get it right before you pass it into law, so that when the pushback comes, you stand firm and you don't have to step back. That's my advice to the government. I'll see you on the next video. Listen, if you have not subscribed to my channel, please just subscribe. Costs you nothing. If you have not, and hit the notification bell, so when I post, you get to see it, because I don't post very often, but you get to see when I post. Here's the reality, man. It costs you nothing. I'm gonna give you tips that are useful. Not just telling you stuff that doesn't work or it's not no gosso in plain Jamaican parlance. Okay? It's stuff that is absolutely true. And if you follow these blogs, follow these videos, you are going to hear nothing but the truth. I'm not going to tell you to do anything. So you know, I saw recently where somebody, an officer told a man he can't record. I'm like, no, sir, he can record. But on the other hand, the police officer was wrong, but on the other hand, the guy holding the camera believed that he didn't have to obey any orders from the police officer. No, you can't do that either. So both of you were wrong. You have to present your particulars when they're demanded of you. That's the law. Follow the law. Like, comment, and share the videos. It helps the algorithms. See you guys on the next one.